Hey guys, the model I am choosing to talk about today is the four-door e-learning model. This model is broken up into 4 doors. One is the library, one is the playground, one is the cafe, and one is the evaluation center. The first door is the library. This door contains all the resources and tools one would need to complete the learning objectives for the module. Items in the library could include videos, podcasts, documents, slides, screencasts, or anything the teacher sees fit that the students may benefit from to learn the objectives. The next door is the playground. The playground contains games that allow students to practice what they learned about in the library. These contain engaging games and simulations for students to practice and gain some motivation and some confidence to use throughout the rest of the module. Games in the playground include games similar to Hangman, Tic-Tac-Toe, matching games, sequencing games, categorizing games, puzzles, anagrams, and a lot of other games. Anything the teacher sees fit for the students to practice would go in the playground. The next door is the cafe, and the cafe is a place for students to collaborate. They can talk with each other on discussion boards and even ask the teacher questions on there. It's just a good place for them to collaborate and use each other as a resource for the subject matter that they're learning. A lot of times these questions are open-ended, and teachers can sometimes get subject matter experts to supply some answers and some text on these discussion boards. I can see students utilizing Google Classroom discussion forums, Padlets, wikis, anything that they can use to post back and forth with each other would be beneficial for them. The last door on the four-door e-learning model is the assessment center or evaluation center. This door contains on-the-job application that truly asks the participant to prove the learning objectives have been met. A lot of times this is way more than just multiple choice questions. It needs to be interactive, something the kids will enjoy doing. Sometimes it's even good to give them a choice and having multiple assessments for them to choose from to see which one they would like to do. But these assessments truly need to evaluate if they've met the objectives or not. I chose this model because I think it best fits my learning environment right now. I teach 4th grade and I teach the upper level kids. I think it fits my learning environment because these students have the capacity to take learning into their own hands and do what they need to do. They have the drive and the work ethic to find the information needed to complete the various steps in the evaluation center. A lot of my students are self-driven. I do a lot of mini whole group lessons, and then normally they're pretty good to go the rest of the day. I already implement a lot of these steps, I just don't put it into this particular model, so I'm looking forward to implementing this model and having it more organized for them. But I really think that they'll be able to take learning into their own hands, and I can just be seen as a facilitator throughout the lessons when I implement this model. I think this four-door e-learning model will impact my instructional module design and my process because I think it will help me organize the material better. I used to just post the materials they needed for the day and links to whatever websites or games they needed. Most students would never go back and look at those links after the day was done, even if they were absent. I don't know if any of them would go back and look at them. By utilizing this model, it would put these links into one of the 4 doors and help organize them in a way that they're readily available if the students ever did need to go back and look at them. It also is great because I can use this across a whole module. It may not just be one lesson, it could be 6 lessons that this 4-door model would apply to. So they could definitely go back and use the doors and the information within the doors and the resources presented to them. As a whole, our school doesn't really follow a certain model. Before we begin a unit, we pre-test. In the middle, we take a post or mid-module test, and at the end, we take a post-test. But there's not really any design outline we really use here. I'm excited because this is research-based and it's proven to work. So really, there should be no questions asked about it, and it's organized, and I think it'll be a simple way for my students to have information presented to them. Another item that I found pretty supportive of this model is outside of the teaching realm of things, but looking into the business side of this, businesses would use this model and still do to train their employees. They liked it because it was a cheap, effective way to train their employees. That employees could work at their own pace, um, and it seemed like it was the fastest way that they could have a turnover with new employees and then employees ready to be on the job. Um, while researching and reading about how a business implemented this model for training, I found that they provided rubrics for self-grading along the way. I think this could also be really beneficial for students in my classroom because they are higher level and because they can think outside of the box a little bit and internalize things and kind of grade their self as they go. Um, they could self-assess along the way and see if they're understanding what they should be understanding throughout the modules. Teachers could also look at these self-graded rubrics and see what students may need a little reteaching or remediation time. But I just liked to hear that businesses were using this as well, and so I kind of thought about how I could use the rubrics that businesses used into my classroom, and I think that they could be really beneficial.